Okay, I'm going to show everybody how I edit AI generations with flaws in a photo editor. I'm going to use ChatGPT with a online photo editor that I found a couple of years ago that is actually free. It's open source that has the general tools that Photoshop would have for all the things, at least all the basic modern things you need to edit. It's called PhotoPea. But I wanted to show how I actually edit because at least since 2022, people used to generate photos with AI and keep regenerating until it looked decent with the flaws. There was just, people were just accepting some of the flaws as long as it came as close to their idea. They didn't really care because, again, let's just be honest, a lot of people are not artists, but AI allows you to be a superficial artist or artist at will without the skill. And so over time, with all the corrections, if you knew how to tell it how to correct stuff and the accurate anatomy and probably giving it more access to accurate anatomy online on people's, well, let's just say company servers, it got better. It's a lot better now. Every now and then you will have a slight, anomaly or the anatomy is off, whatever. It's not as bad as it used to. So, and there will be mistakes. I haven't rendered a single photo that was no mistakes. Um, Now, but actually, I'll take that back. Usually, if I'm doing thumbnails, um, it's fairly accurate because with a thumbnail, it's more of a collage. It's not like an actual portrait. In collages, you have a blend of objects, caricatures, and logos and titles in the image. So imperfection not it's a blend of different things. So it wouldn't necessarily be an issue unless you trying to get it to have specific things. There was one moment I was trying to get an Xbox controller in one thumbnail and it kept giving me a certain style. It wouldn't give me the one I wanted, so I had to find a picture of the one I wanted, upload it and tell it, hey, add this in this image, replace that with this controller, blah, blah. And finally did it. But anyway. And then another thing you do have to make sure it keeps certain elements in the image because every regeneration it changes things because it doesn't know what all you need to have corrected. So you do have to use a keyword, keep elements, keep whatever, either elements, aesthetics, design, tone. You have to tell it keep. You can go with keep everything else after you tell it to change something, and then it'll do just that. So what I want to do is I want to show you. I did a sketch originally. I'm gonna go into the ChatGPT library because I already generated it. I'm just playing with some stuff here. But I think it's in here. I have the original sketch. A lot of my old art from, you know, 90s, early 2000s, I've had it recreated into a modern anime style, as you can see. Um, all right, so this was one of my sketches. I did this years ago, and it's a male female fusion of two characters. One is a menthol elf, one is more of a he's more of a druid, and he has a lot of spiritual essence of menthol from the elves. And so they fuse male female and get a new form of a druid. I mean, nowadays, today's unfortunate 2026 world since 2023, you would say, oh, you created a transgender character. Call it as you will, I don't really give a shit. But if you go based on Dragon Ball Z, when they introduce fusion, that's what you have. You just have a new character, two power forces into one, which doubles their power force. The concept came from that. Now, unfortunately, I decided to have instead of two males or two females, do male female. And I chose that because in well, realistically, unfortunately, despite the relationship issues we have today, at one point, men and women worked together in a relationship. They had to. They had to work together. And so this fusion represents that. Two characters, power levels, they are different. But when they fuse, they're basically stacked on top of each other, plus whatever level of power they can continue to climb to. Because now combined, they can excel and go above their limit, which they will call limit breaking, whatever. So anyway, it started with that, and I had an accidental generation. It might have been another tool I used, but anyway, I told it to create the fusion character. This is one generation, so this is what the two characters turn into, and I call it inyo or yin yang in Japanese. But it's inyo. Um, in Chinese, inyo is more of a yin yang. Okay, light, dark, opposite, polarities, good, bad, blah, blah. In Japan, it's called inyo. Same concept, just inyo. Okay. I use this because, again, it's a female and a male. They both have two different power levels, and they have two distinctive power forces, but they combine. And they're from two different distinct bloodlines when it comes to power, but they're from the same bloodline in an interesting manner. One's more powerful than the other in different aspects, but combined, they're devastating. Okay, this is interesting. You see that. So yeah, that's anyway. I saw something unique. I can add it later. So this was a solo character sheet I was creating, and I have to go back and edit this because it's it generates stuff like this, and I didn't want all those little antler looking things. They're called anthers. They are actually little spines you see on flowers that have little tips, and those little tips hold a lot of the pollen that birds may carry and take, or bees. So I was trying to figure out how I can, and especially the wing. It was mainly the wings. It kept generating the wings too small. So I went in, I pulled what I needed, and re-edited it into photo editor, and I got it the way I want to. Change the fonts. No, actually, I had to correct the logo and the title. So once that was done, what I did was, uh, this is close to the finished character sheet. But anyway, I went ahead and made a character sheet. I told ChatGPT, take and here's a brother and sister. It took a while for me to generate, and actually, you'll see me working with it. I used the idea, and this is my favorite poster cover. Like, I love this. It's unique. And why I love it, because even though Sephiroth and Cloud are two different people, this effect right here gives you an idea. Genetically, they're the same. They're connected. And of course, if you ever play some of the prequel games, like Crisis Core, and there was another one, I can't think of it. The Dirge of Cerberus, and they just released the mobile game, which now they shut it down after, I think after 3 years, 4 years, they shut it down. But it was called Ever Crisis. They combined all the Final Fantasy VII games, sub games, and all that into that one game. You got to see the whole storyline, how most of the experimental children were all tied together, whether they liked each other or not. And this effect, this is a weird, this is cyberpunk DNA effect, shows you how they're connected. You know, not much in power level, but by genetic makeup, they're connected. They're the same, except they made Sephiroth. They said in Final Fantasy VII, you should remember, they made him different because they mixed the Jehovah alien DNA with him, not with like Cloud and Zack. They tried it with others, I believe, in the game. I think they did, and they all ended up failing and whatnot. Anyway, So I was just playing out that fact, made the twins. In one of my books, they're actually reborn together this time. Before they were born from separate um, parents, but they were still connected or related. But and later on they die, and then they're reborn again from one particular person. So now they're twins. So past all that backstory, I have ChatGPT make me a character sheet, starting with the twins fusion into Inyo. Okay. Now the weird thing is it kind of has them separated, but I mean, granted, I can fix that if that makes sense, and I may fix it in this tutorial. You know, if I do, it's going to take a bit. Um, in fact, let's see if it'll allow me to zoom in. No, well, let me zoom in too much. But when I download it and look at it, you'll look at what you need to change. What I really want to show you is how I'm going to fix this wing here. That's the issue. I'm extremely bothered by this. You know, this up here, I'm not too bothered because this can show different variants of it. And technically, you know, there is different versions. Okay. But again, it when you generate things, it tries its very best. See, like this is showing you different poses, male, female. I may keep that because again, there's different variations. I might even have them switch between male, female. I may even just take this one and put it here. Who knows? And I can just go in and say, the Inyo fusion is only, female, whatever. I don't know. But um, the whole idea is I have a character sheet, right? And I can go in and change the naming. Like this says Inyo 2. Well, I can say, well, this is Inyo 2 and 3. Or two, and I think I wrote in my sketchbook, it was 2 squared or whatever, based on how they change, So, and I could do the same thing here. Inyo 2 and Inyo 2 squared. So the main thing, like I said, I want to work on this wing. And I do believe I think I downloaded it already, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check to make sure. Some people are like, how can you see those icons? They're so small. Well, as an artist, when you create your own work, whether you use a tool or not, you'll recognize what you created in the little small thumbnail. See, there it is. It's recognizable. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go here, PhotoPea. And here's the title of this video, and we're gonna do open. All right. Now to go over this briefly, you have your basic tools, right? You have your move tool, you have your rectangle select, you have your lasso tools, you have several. Now in Photoshop it's called macre, and it's hard to pronounce, so it's best to say lasso. It's easier. All right. And of course you have your magic wand, quick selection, object selection. You have your crop tool, dropper, spot healing brush tool. Spot healing again, like that's really for photo editing. I have never really used that, to be honest, and I haven't used any of these tools. A lot of these, now red eye, I think I used it once years ago when cameras. This was with the cameras. If I'm trying to remember how red eye occurred, I think if you took a picture of someone and and if I'm not mistaken, if they were facing the luminance of the sun, and you took a picture, their pupils ended up red. And no one explained that phenomenon. It was just weird how that ended up. And you saw it more in a digital upload than you did a regular photo. And again, they long since corrected it, but I remember that was an issue back then. And then you have your basic brush tool, clone, eraser, bucket, blah, blah. So you kind of get the idea. And all of these are basically in Photoshop. And the biggest thing too is your filters. Again, same Photoshop filters and whatnot. I mean, it's almost identical. Layer, image editing, edit. You got your views and windows. I mean, exact same crap. It's almost built just like it. You know, you got your toolbar. So the crazy thing is, it's free. And why it's free is you got to put up with your ads. Now you can shut these off, and they'll complain about it. But the the baseline premise at the end of the day is it's free. And so if you can't afford Photoshop or Corel Draw or there's another one, um, Paint Shop Pro at the time. I'm not sure if people even use it. Then this, along with, then there's two other online editors that I was trying out. These are great. This one is probably by far the best one as far as versatility. It's got a Photoshop level of UI, which is user interface. It's perfect. So anyway, all right. So we're gonna go in. We're gonna select open. Make sure you're where you need to find your stuff. I dump a lot of my files and download, then I move them to select folders or my backup hard drives or my cloud drive. I actually have a cloud drive, and it's really neat. Anyway, so yeah, now granted, like I said, we are going to look at this first. Now this is cool. You take your magnifier and you just pull, right? You got your little resolution bullshit going on. All right, your hand tool. The only thing that it doesn't do that I think Photoshop does is you can actually create a box and then zoom in. But the problem with that is Photoshop won't necessarily let you do this click and drag, zoom in, zoom out. You have to constantly click and then hold down. I think it's uh, Alt. Yes, you got to hold down Alt and zoom out. So it has to do the box. This is mouse control mostly, which I love mouse control over keyboard shortcut. You zoom in and out or click. And then you have the right click and you have your options. Same thing in Photoshop. So, like I said, if I choose to, I can cut this out if I want to. You know, it's not that hard, but I may not. I mean, and the only other problem would be this leg, but you can fix that. If you're really good, all you have to do is cut out this entire leg here, invert it, I believe horizontally, and put it right there. And then erase this part through the leg so that part of the outfit can be shown. And then you do the same thing with her arm. You invert it to make it similar. That's all you gotta do. And over here, kind of the same thing. Flip it over here, make it look similar. Or you can take, in fact, another easy way to do this, and this is what you can do. Take this arm, put it on here. Bam, simple. Same thing here. If you can make it work, this arm there. But again, um, there's different variants. Now, to be honest, these are two females. So I can literally say Inyo 1, 2, whatever. Or I can tell it, hey, make it one solid character in panel 4 and 5. In fact, let's try that. Let's actually test that. Okay. Let's go back. Let's see if I can merge these. This I may not worry too much about. Because again, um, they change, like they power up. So I can have them go from male female in their fusion state. So this one says Enyo 2. This could be Enyo 2 squared. So he goes, I mean, they go into male form first, and then when they, go to the next limit breaker, they go into female form. Either way. All right. So, and again, this is just a test. All right. Actually, will it give me? Oh, yeah. Okay. See, it says describe edits. This is cool, right? Okay. So we're going to assume it's going to know the panel numbers, right? So we're going to say panel fusion 4, panel fusion 5. Okay. So we're going to say correct in panel 4 and in panel 5, comma, show the fusion of the twins as one in yo fusion. And we're going to say female for this one. Female character. Okay. And then here's a keyword: keep everything else the same. Okay, now, this is a test. Again, we're going to see if it only changes these two. Okay. Correct in panel 4 and in panel 5. Okay. Um, or better yet, let's just say in panel step 4, just to make it more specific. Because sometimes you do have to make it very specific. Okay. And let's see what happens. And a lot of times you do have to play with your wording. I'm not going to lie. When I first started with AI, I was already writing a book. When I found out you had to write what you want to design, I literally had brain freeze because now I'm developing a learning curve, right? The learning curve was now I have to think what I am doing visually and convert it into words. In other words, I have to think of a visual image and explain it, describe it. Trust me, I had writer's block. I will admit, to this very day, I cannot describe what I have in my head too much because it's too much information, way too much. And there's, it is very difficult to describe what you have in your head if half the time you don't know what to describe it as because you would normally think of something that's not even done before. It's almost like trying to describe an alien you just encountered. You have no clue what to describe except it's an alien standing in front of me. Now, I will tell you this: there is a cheat. They have this little tool built into AI, and it's been in there for a long time. Okay, you can actually take a simple concept, in which I guarantee a lot of people do this. They'll take a simple concept and say, make this into a fantasy design character with, golden castle background and mythical, make the character have mythical armor that matches the castle, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then he'll say, then they'll take it and say, enhance this with a AI suggestion with a mythical concept that match this. And there's AI generators that have that tool where it says, enhance this prompt with suggestion. Okay. And then they'll have that generated and then they'll try it. If it comes close to what they want, bam. Sometimes they'll say cyberpunk aesthetic, cyber futuristic punk aesthetic, whatever. Sometimes they'll find references, they'll find a bunch of references of what they want. Like they'll find like a reference of a mythical castle somewhere or whatever and say, combine this with this character, but use the aesthetic of the castle as on them as armor, blah blah blah. Anything twisted, generate it. And they'll just keep regenerating until they get what they want. That's how you can do it. You can mix a lot of ideas. And there is a lot of AI tools out there that actually encourage you to take a whole bunch of ideas, upload the images, and let it combine it into one thing. And that's usually how they get these unique looking futuristic macabre or cyber futuristic dystopian looking imagery, and a lot of it is on Pinterest. Now this is interesting. I am so glad this popped up. You see this shit right here? This is one of the things, and I'm gonna zoom in on this. I am so glad this popped up because I wanted to bring this up. A lot of, oh, that's new. Wait, did I actually download that? Anyway, a lot of the generators that allow you to use the chatbot for free have limitation on image generation. They also have limitation on the base model prompt for generating text. I noticed, especially ChatGPT. I got started with ChatGPT and Copilot first. I noticed between the two, ChatGPT allows you to generate so many hundreds of thousands of words, and then it'll say you have used up you know, your your generation for this model. We're gonna switch you to a much cheaper model, and then it'll allow you so many hundreds of thousands of words, and it'll switch you to another cheaper model. It's crazy, and this is a free model. So be very careful with your generation. I encourage, and this is why I have been doing videos on different models, where it's for research or image. And I haven't done video, but the reason why I have suggested use multiple models, and I will do one on how to use multiple models inside the same tool, is because of this problem. ChatGPT, and I'm going to make sure I'm correct on this. I believe ChatGPT, I think this is one, two, three, maybe four, only allows up to 4 image generations. In fact, no, scratch this. I did 2 generations in this, one in this, and one in this. So yeah, I think it gives you up to 4. And then it cuts you off. Then it tells you to buy a subscription. Oh wait, the next day. Or yeah. Or no, actually it tells you to wait 24 hours. Now it's telling me 2 a.m. because the last generation I did was probably around 2 a 2:11 a.m. yesterday. And I have no idea what that was. But then again I do, because I believe I was working on an, an album cover for a track. Anyway, but you get the idea. Be very wary of this. If you're using a tool that has limited image generation for free, use another tool. Okay, get what you can out of this tool or the other tool you're using, and then regenerate it in the next tool. Like for instance, you go into Copilot, go to New Chat, upload the last generation you have, and then type in what you need done to it. Whether you need stuff added, adjusted, edited, whatever. You see how far it can go. And if you run out of image generations with that one, you go to the next one and the next one. Keep in mind, Google has the same limitations. I think Google might give you like maybe 4 also. I'm not sure. And I don't know why I'm having connection errors in these tools. This might be another problem because I'm starting to see if you leave these tools suspended for periods of time, it starts to disconnect. They have not done that until recently because they did some changes lately. Like the tools have been disconnecting. They started adding watermark. Well, the biggest thing, like Microsoft now has added giant size watermarks, huge ugly watermarks compared to when they used to not do it, as you can see. I don't know why they did that. It's like retarded. So they've been doing some changes. ChatGPT does not have a watermark, but I'm sure it has a meta watermark, which is a metadata watermark in the description. You know, and of course, if you don't know how to find it, one day I'll show people how to find the metadata. Google has a watermark, and I'll show you. If you haven't noticed, if you ever did generations by Google, and why is this taking so long? This is already generated. Wow. Let's go to the most. Yeah, this something's up. I think the server timed out on me. Let's do a refresh. Because like I said, wait a minute. Oh, okay, never mind. I accidentally signed out of my entire email account. That's what happened. Okay, never mind. That makes sense. So that's strange. It's not in that image. Okay, if you do anything directly in Gemini, it puts a little watermark like this in the corner of the image, whether you notice it or not. If you have it edit, and this is interesting, it'll still do the same thing. As you can see, it'll just, well, yeah. I noticed though, if you edit something out, it won't watermark it for some reason. But then again, I do tell it to keep it as is from the original. Now, okay, so here's the sketch. I did it in Gemini and I didn't like it. Why? Number one, it's too 2D cartoony, and I didn't really want that. I can't really explain it, but it's got that it's almost got that 80s book cover look to it, an old 80s design. If you ever seen books from the 80s when they had characters from the future, this is what it looked like. And I always found those imagery kind of cringe as far as the color scheme and the style. It was just weird. Anyway, but yeah, I started with that. And in fact, I probably took this generation and then redid it. And I don't remember what I did. But anyway, I started it, finished it off in ChatGPT. So thumbs up on this. This is also considered AI learning when you do thumbs up, thumbs down, because it tells the AI model, you did a great job. Sometimes they'll ask you why I did a good job. Now, if you do a thumbs down, please fill out the reason because it tells it what mistakes it made and it will try to correct it. So there you have it. It is corrected. Full, well, that's a female, that's not. Hmm. Anywho, it's in transition. No pun intended. But it did what I wanted to do, make it one character. I mean, then again, I think that is female. Just, but anyway. All right, so we're going to download this one because it is correct. All right, let's show download this. Okay, so let's see. I usually have to refresh my folder just to make sure things are updated. We're going to go back to PhotoPea. We're going to open the new file in comparison. There you have it. So yeah, it's okay. Transition. It's still a female. Great. All right. So we have that all set to go. The, you know what? And again, this is another thing. You have to be very careful because again, I know I mentioned this. It literally, and I'm not sure why, it kept everything the same. Oh, never mind. Now, a lot of time AI is pretty keen on things. And I just realized it. This is a male, right? It went above and beyond and swapped out this character too to be visually correct. I didn't ask it to. I literally, and you saw me type. Let's go back. Keep everything else the same. Only work in panel step 4 and panel step 5. But, but it would make sense if I said show the fusion of the twins as one in your fusion female character, it would have to remove the male. So that is key detail. That is amazing paying attention to detail. Something I didn't look at right away because number one, I had already said I was going to use that form and make it Inyo 2 squared. And again, I do have the forms in my sketchbook. I have to go back and I do have to make character sheets for each form. Now, there is a form prior to this. I didn't do it yet, but it's similar, except it's going to be blue. Okay. And in that form, yeah, I think, or blue green. I haven't decided, but again, that's why I haven't decided. And the other method is I don't believe I will give it wings. I'm going to give it spines. And every time, and here's the issue I have with it. Every time I describe spines, it never understands what the hell I'm talking about. It never does. So I may have to draw it out like something like this and then add it to the image and then tell it wing spines. That makes sense. But to be honest, and to give you some context, all I'm doing is taking the actual root of the spine of a feather, removing the feather, and that's the wing spine. That's basically what it is. Anyway, so with that being said, we have the corrected image. We will close this image here. We don't need it. Next step here, and I'll go full screen. What I always do is always duplicate the layer, and that is a step I've always done in Photoshop, and I think I was taught to do that because if you edit in your background, you don't screw up everything, especially if you don't know about your history. Most people don't even think about your history. You can go back in your history, but again, if you go too far, because the history has so many layers, it'll keep, and then it'll start deleting. You're gonna lose it. So it's always good. Duplicate your background layer, make it a copy. And the other thing I do is I turn it off. Why? Because when I start cutting out the image, I don't have a background sitting in my way, and it looks like nothing was done. It will show up as transparent. Okay, that's why I always turn the background image off. All right. So now, next step, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna work on this wing. We're gonna zoom in as close as we can get it, and we're just gonna observe it. Okay, what I do is I like to observe what I'm working with. All right, and I compare what I want done. Now, here's the thing. this wing is too short, but then if you consider the perspective, it works in a weird way. This, I will have to hide most of it, which is fine. So I can do two things. Completely cut this out, cut this out, and replicate it on this side. Or cut this out, rotate it, stick it over here. I have two ways to do this. Okay. What's easier? It depends on you. Because if you use this wing, cut it over here, well, guess what? You gotta give it all this. Good luck with that. And there's a way to do it. There's several different ways to do it. Easy ways, in fact. Yeah, easy ways. Okay. So the other problem is you have this feature here. Okay, that's something you have to consider. So you have to replicate this feature over here. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And then it has this, I'm not sure where that's coming from. So with that being said, you may want to get rid of that. So what, like I said, what I'm thinking, this would look weird if I even put it over here because it's curved down. Um, and the other problem is these feathers are larger than this one, so that still won't look right. And again, that I don't know what the hell that is either. So you see, there's a lot of imperfection. I'm calling out a lot of things, and I can edit a lot out. You know. So what I may do is just duplicate this side up to here, which you may not even see this, but that's what I'm probably going to do. The other thing I'm going to do is get rid of some of these. I don't need all that. So let's start with the easiest thing. Okay, let's get rid of this feather. And we might just get rid of all of this whole thing. Okay. Now it does, okay, here you don't see it. Here you kind of see it. And this is all over the place, but here you don't see it. So I could actually just get rid of all this all together. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is to keep it simple. I'm going to select, actually I can select the rectangle tool. We're going to pull a section here, solid block. Make sure it's clear. No, okay. We're going to do copy and then paste. And you have a new layer. All right. We go to your, make sure you know what these are called, move tool. And we're just going to move it up. I want to move it all like right to about this corner here. All right. Then we're going to go to edit, free transform. The only problem with this is it's not universal in any way, but at the end of the day, you can still, enlarge it at whatever scale it decides. So we're going to cover, again, the majority of what I don't like. And I want to make sure I get everything. Okay, that's about good where it is. All right, next step, you can use either do the fill or opacity. Again, I'm not sure what is the point of fill and opacity because they do the same thing. As you can see, opacity and then with fill, same thing. Doesn't I don't know. Anyway, the only thing I could think of, I guess if you have groups, then you would use fill and target a group. Because if you do opacity to a group, it'll make the whole thing opaque and fully transparent. That might be why. And I haven't messed with groups too much in here. And if I do, I usually group it after I'm done. All right, so lighten the opacity a little bit, like so. Okay. So the biggest step here is we want to cut out everything here, along here, here, and then here. Okay. So what I tend to do is I'll get the lasso tool, drop open the submenu, and I'll make sure I have polygon lasso select. The reason is you basically you're making lines. The lasso select you draw, and then there's the magnet. But you want to use the lasso polygonal select because you want to make geometric etchings. Okay, so that's the hair. Right. So we're gonna, in fact, always zoom in as close as you can get it to. That helps a lot. All right. So we're gonna start a little bit on the edge on the outside of the box, and then we're going to go all the way because we want to cut on the interior, which means we're gonna go this way and cut all this part out. Okay, and then you gotta think about what you want to do. Now, if you screw it up, you can invert it. That's the nice thing about selection tools. Okay, you can actually invert it. And in fact, with that being said, I did screw up. All right, so let's close it. Go to select, deselect. Okay, you want to start right here in the corner of the hair and then go down because again, you want to keep the interior of the body. Okay. In fact, with most of this, you don't really have to go as close to the edge until you get to the section you want to eliminate. Like I want to eliminate those extra anthers. That's a mess. And you're going down across the clothes like so, all the way through here. These bottom feathers, I would say keep those or not. Actually, no, you don't. I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, you don't. So you want to eliminate those too. All right, and then we're going around the sleeve. Okay, you can actually use your scroll wheel and scroll up and down. That's what's nice about some mouse features in these programs. It does allow you to use your mouse and scroll wheel instead of your keyboard shortcut. Other than you'd be dealing with some bullshit. Okay, all right, and then we're just gonna kind of like make a little biological shape there, and we're gonna go around the anthers here. And what's nice, you can make this edgy if you need to. It will actually curve your shape to make it smooth. Now, what I just did is I took my finger off the mouse button, the left, and I just slid left. Drag your mouse to the left, and it will move the screen view to the left. Some art editors don't have that feature, but it's considered auto scrolling side by side. So, just kind of see what the mouse features are like when you're editing. It is very useful when it does allow that because you'll have to like stop and then kind of like stop where you are, close the lasso connection, cut, and then go to the next section. At one point, it was an issue. Um, you're doing section at a time. Now, don't get me wrong, it's good to do section at a time sometimes, especially with more complex imagery. All right, like for instance, I just came to the edge, right? Okay, so now I got to figure out what do I want to cut out. Okay, granted, I like what I see here. So I'm gonna go all the way to the edge, jump all the way across to the edge of the anther, and then go back up because we're keeping all this. So I want all that exposed. Okay, and then going up like this. And again, I do not want this. So I'm leaving that cut out. Get to the little thorn. I guess that's what that is. Kind of like give it a little shape. It will adjust as it sees fit. We're going around this little piece here, as you can see. And I'm not going to exactly explain all my steps. You can see it visually. One key thing, if you know the area that you need is just right, you can actually, you know, go outside that little edge boundary and then move around to what other sections you need. So like I said, I'm only cutting out the inner part. There we go. So what should happen is all this in this section of the anther should be visible. Okay. And this is from the little piece I have. Everything else is going to be white. Go to edit, select, you can do cut or clear. Cut puts what you just cut out in the, and I can't think of it now, but it has a little, oh my goodness, I've been working too long, but it stores it. Let's just say that for right now until it comes back to me. I cannot believe it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't believe I can't think of it. Oh my God, what in the world? Um, anyway, we keep going. So if you don't need it, select clear. So clear, there you have it. See? And just to test what you just edited, you bring your opacity back to 100. You zoom out. You see that? Bam. Just that quick, just that easy. Amazing, right? That's why I say it's easy. But you gotta be, I guess, you gotta learn these skills. You gotta learn these tricks. I mean, most people, I mean, there's ways that you could do it the hard way, paint over it. But the trick with that is you have to make sure your dropper tool matches the color. And I'm gonna be honest, 50% of the time it doesn't match it properly. So what I started learning to do with the concept of the clone tool, I started cutting little sections of the image and enlarging it, covering what I need to edit, cut out what I don't need, and then I'll blur the edges to blend it in. That works actually. It's an amazing trick. So I just showed you one of my tricks on how to crop out crap quickly by using a specific segment. And it's pretty fast. It's very fast editing. So that's one step. Okay, so that's done. Go to select. You have your option: select all, deselect inverse. So again, like I said earlier, if you select a section and it's not the correct section, but it's close to where you need to cut out, just select inverse and then try it, and it'll work. Deselect. Okay, so the next step. Oh, I forgot. So what I wanted to say was, if you select cut, it puts it on the clipboard. And in Windows, if you want to know how to open your clipboard, and it took me a while to figure this crap out, and it's not very intuitive to get to. Well, I lied. It is now. They had an update where if you want to access your clipboard and your emojis, you say yes, and then it'll give you a little icon in your taskbar that has a little emoji with a plus. But to access your clipboard, you select Windows, period, and here's your clipboard right here. You'll have your history and everything. The other clipboard is your copy paste clipboard. So you press Windows V, and then here's your clipboard. As you see, there's my box, and again, here's your emojis. The same thing I just showed you. It's right here. So it's very intuitive. You have all of what you copy paste. The nice thing too, you can actually pin it. Oh, that's that. You know what? I was looking. Hold on. Oh no. So you can pin what you copy paste and store it. I'm not sure how many you can pin. I don't know, but this idea came from Android because you can pin your clipboard items in Android also. And again, it's very, very intuitive. I'm glad they added that because at one point it wasn't very efficient to get to your clipboard. You had to remember what the shortcut was. It was kind of awkward. But and they're learning from the ease of use of Android because again, people are using everything on their phone more. Those who use laptops and tablets, they're kind of accustomed to apps. So Microsoft at least got smart to say, okay, Windows platform people, we're going to have app features, and that's what they're doing, so they can still stay mobile with their laptops on a a tablet form factor, which is the Windows Surface. I'm sitting next to one now. I have my Windows Surface Pro 9 linked to an extra monitor, so I got that dual screened and set up. And to be honest, the Windows Surface technically it's a laptop. They don't not. I mean, I can't talk tonight. They will not admit that. But when I first saw the Windows Surface and what it was capable of doing, which was holding the entire Windows operating system on its hardware, you just had to get a detachable keyboard. I was like, that's a laptop. There was nothing different about it except it was just a big old touchscreen laptop without the keyboard. And they were smart about designing it. And it's the smartest thing they ever did. And it made a lot of laptop no, I'm sorry. It made a lot of PC companies copy that idea. Some made just a laptop that turns into a tablet by flipping the keyboard backwards, blah, blah, blah. I don't like that idea because then if the keyboard doesn't disengage key presses, then as soon as you put it down or you pick it up, you're pressing keys and now you have keystrokes going across your screen, and so on and so forth. Anyway, sorry, I'm drinking water. I normally don't like drinking on lives or on camera. I think it's disrespectful, but it's becoming a common trend. Like people don't give a damn. And I know it's natural, but unless I'm doing a food video, I am not going to be eating and smacking and talking with my mouth full. In fact, why I feel is disrespectful, keyword, talking with your mouth full. That used to be a sign of respect. But again, people don't give a shit. And then I guess a lot of people are stressed out, so they will eat while they're on video. So I mean, people are already stressed out. They don't really care anymore what they do on video because they're trying to get their emotions out. So it is what it is. You take it how you want to, but me personally, I will not eat on video. It's just the way I feel about it. Now, another thing you can, if you remember, and again, if you're an artist, you have your selection tools, which you can say these are like overlaps or intersections. So you have your, um, you, I guess you can say your positive and negative. You have your unite, and you have your negative to positive, which means you have your whole object, right? Whatever you select, it's going to cut it out of the macre. So for instance, okay, I switch to negative to positive, right? So if I do this, it cuts it out. If I go positive to negative and I do this, added that section only. Actually, I don't. Yeah, well, it only added that section. It wasn't supposed to do that, but anyway, because it's adding to nothing. Now, if you want to add to this, select Union and Unite, add your Mockley tool. There you go. That's kind of what I wanted to do. But anyway, and then you have this is called intersect. So, and I don't use this often, but what happens is you can actually crop out that section, everything disappears, and the image shows you exactly what it does. You could use this if you screwed up something in your selection. Like if I wanted just this feather and I was rushing and I just go through here, right? I can then later go in, isolate this feather only, and the rest will be removed. This feather will be isolated. Again, I'm not sure how useful that is because you have these two tools here, subtract and unite or add. If you're good with these, you don't need this. And again, I'm kind of confused on why that is, but I guess if you're rushing, like if you don't feel like selecting something right away, you can select the whole thing, crop. Well, okay. One thing is good for like you can isolate a whole section, right? If you're rushing, especially if you're cutting, select crop, select crop, select crop, and you paste it all in separate layers. You can later go back and cut out what you really need, and that's if you're rushing. But beyond that, you will rarely use this. I have never used this, to be honest. Out of Photoshop, CorelDRAW, and other tools that's photo editing, I've never used this. I'm either using this or this. You start out with this. This is default, but I never used that. So again, if you're good at what you're doing, and if you took art classes, then digital art classes, you you don't necessarily need all the tools. And that's one thing I hated about Photoshop. It was overcrowded with crap that you never really used. And there was a period that I never liked using alpha channels, but they taught us how to use alpha channels. The thing with alpha channels is it's another form of cropping. You take your image, then you take a section, right? Same selection, you select that whole section, okay, and you black it out. You take that layer, add it in the alpha channel, and it just keeps it blacked out, and now you see straight through it. I thought that was a waste of time. I literally thought that was a waste of time. Because if you could do the same thing if you just cut it out and then have the layer underneath. Well, come to find out, they know which way to go. And back then, you only had this, just the lasso tool. Okay. It took forever to properly edge stuff out. So what was done whenever you created a character on a solid background, it automatically created an alpha channel. And instead of trying to like add a background to that character or whatever, and I'm trying to think what made it complicated. Oh, actually, it more or less worked if you crop the character out of the background, right? And again, it still was kind of weird to me, but anyway, um, like if you want to cut the character out and change the background real quick, all you have to do is create an alpha channel of that character, just outline it, make the background black, and then you just switch the background on the layer underneath it. Just that easy. And they was doing that a lot. I've still found out to be a waste of time because to me, I felt like if you actually edged line that character the whole time, you could actually cut that character out. You could change the background layer anyway. So I never fucked with alpha channels. I didn't start using alpha channels until I got into video. It made sense in video. But the problem was when Adobe had After Effects and Premiere, they took that feature and added into the photo editor for video producers. Now, what I later found out was if you took stills from the photo editor and you had to bring it into a video editor, you needed your alpha channel. Then I was like, oh, I get it. That's the only reason why alpha channels were useful, but they didn't quite bring that to some clarity. And again, if you look carefully, here it is, channels. You have your RGB, your red, your green, your blue. If you turn these off, you'll see what I'm talking about. So what they would typically do, they'll use the red channel, keep it on, crop out everything, or they will do the tone, darken everything, or whiten everything to white out the light tones, darken everything else, and you just create an alpha channel. Like it'll look like this, and then there's your alpha channel. Now you can change your background because this will be an alpha channel, crop, crop, crop. There you go. Simple. But yeah, it was for video. But they wanted us to learn alpha channeling. Okay. Anyway, so if you're an artist, you will learn these tricks in school, especially for now the use of digital art. You will have to learn a lot of tricks when it comes to editing because you will be dealing with flattened photos. And what? Oh, see, I'm an intersect, so I gotta pay attention. You'll be dealing with flattened photos. Why the hell? That's weird. I'm a when did it switch? And when you're dealing with flattened photos, you need to learn how to, you know, cut stuff out, crop. And then if you're pulling stuff in the video, yeah, you will have to use alpha channel because when you actually, you know, crop things out or you want to take something out of a background and show something else, you have to use masking, which is basically an alpha channel. It's alpha channeling, if you understand what masking is. Same concept. So yeah, yeah, it sucks to learn to know in a 2D editor because you're not really in need of using it, but it's good to learn. At the end of the day, it is good to learn. And it took a while for me to understand what in the world we learned this for. But yeah, it's definitely good to learn. So as you can see, what I just did, done. Wings are gone. Finished. Make sure you save your work. Now what I do is I always say save it as a Photoshop file. And Photoshop is universal because Photoshop was precedent over CorelDRAW. I prefer CorelDRAW, but because Adobe took precedence and pushed advertising to a brink of everybody fell for it, well, CorelDRAW didn't have the daylight or the lighter day to show that they were technically they were superior. I felt they were better. They had better. In fact, they transitioned from keyboard shortcut to mouse controls, which was a lot quicker. And I found that I could edit faster in CorelDRAW. They had better tools. It was just it's amazing. But people stuck with Photoshop, and now there is a group on Instagram that I follow that did use CorelDRAW. There ended up being a lot of foreigners who couldn't afford Photoshop because Photoshop was 50% more expensive than CorelDRAW, but you get the same results. I don't know what happened to that group. I gotta go dig in my Instagram, but I think people are shifting away from photo editors. I'm pretty sure a lot of them found cheaper ones. Like at one time, it was a Japanese photo editor. I can't remember what it was called. 'Cause I haven't used it in a while. It was severely open sourced, severely. Like the shit was just not finished. I don't think they ever finished it. That's what's crazy. It was okay. Now there was a group of people who actually made brushes for. I made a brush, but I think I used the tutorial from somebody else, and then I adjusted it and I posted it. on DeviantArt, and man, everybody loves it because it was one of those brushes. I think it was for blending, either blending or blurring, and because they didn't have that tool. And I watched a tutorial that was similar to blending, and I converted it to a blur tool. And people, I think to this very day, people download that brush, or they download the settings on how to make it blur. So it has helped a lot of people. But again, oh, it's called Paint Tool Side. I haven't checked to see if they even added anything to it, upgraded, made a newer version, anything. It's been a minute. I think I still have the original. I think it was 1.2. All right. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Um, so you want to save it as a PSD, which is a Photoshop digital file. Um, yeah, I just lost my brains. Okay, so we're going to call this, and I really don't want to put it in here. Let's go in here. Actually, let's go to my backups. And it's a USB drive. No, that's solid state, to be honest. No, no, that isn't my solid state. Let's see here. What's in here? There it is. Okay. So we're going to put it in this folder. I made a folder. Okay. In yo oops, character sheet. There you go. You always want to save it as a raw Photoshop file because it's editable. You keep your layers. You keep all your edits. Don't save it as a flat image because guess what? It's going to open up as a background. Then you have to start all over. Or well, if you're really good at what you do, you pick up where you left off if you want to do that. So be careful. Save it as a PSD file always, unless you're good at what you do. And if you flatten it, you can pick up where you left off and work on the next thing. Like for me, I can literally flatten this, go to bed, wake up, and then start here if I choose to. All right, so next step. Again, like I said, I want to get rid of this, 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 and that. And most likely this crap too. Um, but to be honest, there's some things, and I can fix this. But what it is going to take is me pulling the colors from here and blending it in here. And I can show you how to do that. I can pull this up. But being that it's a character sheet, there's a lot of aesthetics that's not necessary. Okay. And the other thing I could do, I can just duplicate this color tone, or I can take this little piece here and just make pieces, paste it right over it in pieces. Or something. In fact, let me show you something. I'll do this right now. This is a lot quicker. And again, messing with the dropper is one thing, but having a guaranteed color scheme, that's another. And that's one of the things I noticed. It doesn't replicate the variable color tones that's in the image. So it'll pick the closest color tone, and then that's the color you get. And you know, it doesn't look natural, and that's what used to frustrate me a lot. And so I have to go in there with all the fucking color tones and just like splash painted or splotch painted and then blend it. It was a fucking hassle. Sorry I'm cursing about that, but yeah, it was just annoying. So one day I said, wait a minute, let me just cut this section out, paste over, and then blend it. And I don't know where I got that idea from, but when I did a lot of cut and pasting, patching, and in fact, what I also saw, and I noticed this at one period when people did comics, they would take a material, a piece of material, paste it over their sketch, maybe lighten the opacity, and now it's that material. And to make it look 3D, they'll add some shadow along the edges. I was noticing that because the material didn't have any type of curvature, none. It was flat, but they added shade. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? I was like, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, so I took that idea and started pasting over things I needed to edit out. It made things quicker, and I'll show you why. So, all right, I cut that out. We're gonna paste new layer. See, bam. Here's the thing. Now we're gonna go to edit, free transform. There it is. And we're going to expand. Bing. Yeah, now it looks like shit. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it looks like shit. That's the whole point. Because again, we want to get rid of this. Okay? Get get to about the edge. Like that. And right there. Okay. Hit enter to accept. And see how that looks? That I don't really have to do much of anything, to be honest. Except we're gonna go to the blur tool. We're gonna blur that little edge. Just like that. Bam. Perfect. You see a little vein there, but you don't have to worry about that. All right, so next thing, we have to get rid of this section here. So you can do this two ways. You can take a piece here and put over it, or I want you to pay close attention to something. You see this little section here? You can actually extend it over this. So that's what I'm going to do. So go back to the original layer and pay very close attention. You have to keep doing it because if you don't, and I'm going to show you what happens. If you don't, you select the empty layer and you hit copy, see, it'll tell you. So at least it will give you a heads up if it can't find anything. But anyway, I'm going to zoom in. Lasso tool. Nice edge. Okay. We go to copy. And you can keep it on the layer because all it's going to do is going to add it to a new layer. But just make sure you know where your layers are, and then you can always label it. But anyway, let's select the newest layer, which is this section. We want to paste a new layer on top of that, and it's right there. Sometimes you can tell because it'll darken. Okay. What we're gonna do, we're gonna move it up. So just grab it and move it up like this. There you go. Bam. Done. And a lot of times you can even go in with the erasing tool brush, bring your eraser down to the smallest point, and just kind of edge that part out. Just a little bit. All right. And zoom out. You can kind of still see it. So what we do is paste again. Slide that up like that. And then we just kind of get rid of some of those little dark spots. So it'll blend a little bit better. And to make it work well, we take the two layers that we just pasted, select, and this is what I do. I select them and select merge layers. So it'll be one. And you go in with the little brush and kind of make it look like it's blending in. And there you have it. You don't have to be perfect, but just so you can see a difference. So you still have a little bit of an anomaly. So you go in with the blur tool, bring the brush down to the tab, and we're gonna blend this bottom half here. Well, it's not blending as much. So again, we just take like that. Simple. Again, it's not perfect, but once you cut out what you don't need, to the average person, they're not going to notice. The other thing you can do, you can bring this over. So if you want to bring this over to kind of blur this a bit, what I would do is switch the layers as far as position. Make sure you see where it's at. You go to your blur, look for smudge. Okay. And then you just drag it, which that looks like shit. I don't know why it's doing that. The other thing you can do, kind of drag it down some. Yeah, there we go. That looks a little better. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, cool. We'll stick with that. All right. Now, again, like I said, I want to get rid of these things here. I want to cut out all that because it just, sorry, it just doesn't make sense. Absolutely not. So what you can do, um, go back to the section here. I can reuse the blockhead, but it's already cropped out. Grab a section of white. Make sure you're on your original layer. Okay, and drag it up. And again, a lot of times editing photos, it's very tedious. It takes time. So if you get tired, take a break. Definitely take a break. It gets very tedious. Sometimes if you don't sit right, your back is killing you and stuff like that. Make sure you take a break, eat a snack, stretch, whatever. Sitting at a desk sucks ass. It's horrible. All right. One would say, why did I make a square that big? Well, again, you want to cover the entire work, excuse me, work area. Okay. Yes, that's more to cut out, but you need to cover as much of what you need to work with that particular color. Okay. The more real estate you have to work with, the better. Because then you'll be double working yourself, piece in here, piece in on top of all, blah, blah, blah. So again, cover everything that you need to cover, cut it out. It's not that hard because, like I said, it will conform. Once you use this lasso tool, lasso polygon tool, it will conform easily. So again, like I said, um, we want to cut out all this, right? So what I'm gonna do to make it quick, this is what I'll do. I'm gonna cut out and leave the wings. So what we'll do is we'll start with this cutout here, and we're gonna kind of like lasso in between what I want to keep, right? Again, this area here is already perfect. Now, right here, I want to eliminate this. So what actually, I'll get that cut out later. So we're gonna go around here, back to this little feather here, go across here, kind of like get in there as best as you can to that edge. So this next feather, going across the feather, and again, it's better to zoom in. Now, unless you have a really good eye, you could actually do this from this viewpoint. But if you're not, then you'll have to crop out what you don't want in a larger segment. Yeah, we want to keep all this. Okay. Again, we want to get rid of the outside work area that I don't need. So we want to move. Actually, you know what? I fucked up. Shit. All right, this is what I was talking about. If you screw up. So I want to eliminate. Okay. And yeah, I kind of screwed up a bit. Actually, yeah. It's just going to cut all this out. And I don't want that. Oh, yeah. Let's do an inverse. We're going to test this. Clear. Perfect. So again, like I was saying earlier, if you mess up your cropping section, test it, go to undo, go select, inverse, do it again. To finalize your test, bring your opacity back up. There. You did exactly what I needed it to do. Perfect. So now we're gonna go to stage 2. Okay. Stage 2, I want the rest of this shown. You can do this 2 ways. You can go to subtract, or you can deselect and then cut all this out. Let's play with subtract. Start at the edge here. Kind of like go around the character like so. Just like that. Go around your selection tool that's already been pre-selected. Make sure you cover the area. Oh man, you know what? It added to the subtraction. So yeah, again, you gotta kind of figure out what's subtracted, what's added. So the other thing we'll have to do is reverse it. Um, or and here's now this would be the only thing you could actually try. Here's the intersect, right? So let's play with this. This is the only time this will actually be beneficial. You want to show all this and cut out the rest, correct? So we want to test this theory. No, actually, it's going to cut out this. So no. The best thing to do with this is invert it. Go to subtract. And to test this, you just kind of go across. This is a small section. Did I get it? Oh shit! Where did it go? All right, there you go. So that's not what I need. So then the other thing is, let's just try. Let's see what that does. No. Um, Actually, this might be beneficial. I'm sorry, for what I need. So let's try this. We're gonna go with intersect, and we want to select this whole square here, this whole chunk, right? It kind of it did select what I needed, but this was not selected. But so it did isolate what I needed. Okay. Now we go to unite. Okay, and then we're going to add to this. Somewhere in here, I don't remember where. Sometimes you gotta find your starting point. Okay, so now this whole section is selected. You select clear. There you have it. And now you're going to test your cropping. Voila, perfect. A lot of it is trial and error also. Okay, now that's how you use intersect. It's very rare you use it because again, you can always do a deselect and just cut whatever else you have out. But I wanted to just play with that so you'll see how that works. All right, so now we're gonna go into some detail cropping. Okay, you have these veins here, right? So this is what I'll do. You have your layer here, right? See, there. So we're going to actually we're going to take a small segment, just a square. You don't need much. Copy, paste. Just remember where you marked it, and you're going to move it right here, okay? Retransform, put up to about there, adjust the opacity, just like this. Now what we're going to do is, we're going to do an inversion, okay? We want to select this section here, and we're going to invert it to where it crops out everything outside that. And I'll show you how this is going to work. And you can do it with the regular too. We're going to start on the edge and kind of cut along or draw along here, go straight through over the vein to the edge of that feather there, coming back around. You don't have to be super perfect if you have the area white that you need. You just need to cut out what you don't need. All the way out and then connect. Bam, right? So typically when you select clear, it's going to cut this section out. We don't want to do that. Okay. And we'll show you, I'll show you how this works. I say we because the program. We're going to test both needs. Select clear, see? We don't want that. Select undo, select inverse. That's what we want to do. So now that section is cut out. Deselect. There you go. Now, with all that said and done, you have cleaned up your image to almost match these two, minus this stuff here. Again, you know what, fuck it, let's go ahead and do it. So, okay, let's flatten this image first. So we're gonna select our layers, all of our layers, I mean. So you go, hold shift, click the last layer you want to select, merge, bam, done. Save as PSD. Now, if you're smart, you'll do a save as PSD and change the name. So what I do is like, hey, you're gonna make copies. Okay. Now, a lot of times, once you save the file as that format, all you have to do is click save because you already changed the extension of the file. All right. So we're gonna quickly go in here. Again, I didn't want to really mess with this part, but I guess we'll do it quickly. So I can pull from somewhere. this will work. And make sure you do a lot of copy paste, copy paste. Try not to cut paste because then you'll chop into your image. Now, yes, I zoomed out. I still remember where my block is. That's why I did that. Okay, perfect. Light opacity. Okay. Oh, what we're going to do is we want to cut around this section here and cut these out completely. So the best thing, I think how I want to do this. I'm going to say probably, okay, I know what I'm going to do. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start on the edge. I'm going to go in like this, keep all the white, go in on the edge of her hair, go up and back out because again, all this is perfect. So keep all this white, come very close to her hair, go across as close as you can get it to the feather, and then up in between the white area because again, all that's perfect. Okay, and then we're going to go down, create a base shape. Bam. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to only cut this part out. Clear, done. Deselect, bam, clean, done. All right. All right. So back over here. We're gonna do a save. Bam. Okay. So I don't remember where it will show you what the format is. Now with Photoshop, I think it should show you at the bottom. With this, you just gotta trust your instincts. Honestly. Again, just be careful what you save it as. Um. Okay. So we want to pull all this out. Okay. So what we're gonna do? Go to the original image. Hopefully, it's like yeah. I'm not sure. Oh. Oh wait. You know what? I gotta finish something, and I forgot about this. I thought I flattened that. All right, so we're gonna clean up this one more time. This little section I forgot. This piece here, so we're just gonna cut that out. You can also use the eraser tool, but I find the polygon lasso tool is pretty quick. If you can get as close to the edges as possible, it will curve it along the lines that you create a polygon with and make it as smooth as possible. All right. So what I realized and I forgot, um, since everything is cleaned up and solid, you want to merge your edits with the original layer. Now, what I do before I do that is I duplicate that original copy of the original background, and I'll hide it, sometimes lock it. Now I have layers to work with. Bam. Oh, key thing, don't use flatten. Just don't, because what's going to happen is it's going to make it a complete background. You screw. Luckily, you have undo, but just don't ever use this. You can flatten your image when you save it as a format as JPG or PNG. So don't touch that. Flatten it when you save it as a flat image format. It'll do the same thing without doing it in the program. All right, so now we have a new image. Okay, I'm gonna work with the feathers and we should be done after this. Now this should be quick because again, you're gonna you see where this is located. The feathers have to be behind her back on this side, and it's going to have to be behind this caption box. So you don't need a lot of detail crop. We just need the feathers for the wings. Okay, so go back to, all right, make sure you're on your original layer for one. Okay, we're gonna start here and we're just gonna cut around. Just crop, just cut, slice with your selection, not literally slicing, but you know what I mean. You just need this section. Okay, make sure it connect to the tip. Cool. Copy, always copy. Don't cut, copy. Okay, paste. Now here's a trick. You gotta flip it. You have to invert it by flipping it. Go to transform, and I always get this confused, but it's always based off the axis, and I believe the vertical is flipping on the y-axis. We can test that. No, that's on the x. So okay. So be careful with that. And the other thing is, it flipped the whole image. I didn't want that. So what I'll have to do is go to layer, and I don't see it. Sometimes it's in layers, and this also has the merging of layers. And if you don't see it, go to image. Actually, no, that was the whole image. Go to edit, then it's, yes, here it is. All right, so horizontally is flipping on the y-axis. Vertical is flipping on the x-axis. All right, so we want to select flip horizontally, and there's your feathers flipped. I do get it confused sometimes because I'll be doing it too fast, but whatever. Okay, so to see where you need to put your object, always drop your opacity down, no lower than 50%, but at least you can see through the object and still see the object. So we're going to bring it, and based on perspective, this is about how much you would see generally. Maybe you want to bring it up just a tad, but that's how much you'll see if you really think about it. You can test that by, zooming out. You can even look at here. Now, this is a little off, and plus missing extra fella, but whatever. Typically, again, you would normally see about that much, or maybe that much. Okay, and that's why I say you want to cut out a chunk and then clean up the rest. All right, that looks about what I need. Okay, so we're gonna go all the way in, and again, I think that's where I want it. Yeah. Okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut out the outside. So, and I don't remember where the feather ends, but we're gonna start along the sleeve. We're gonna get as close as we can to the character. Up to that edge. Okay. We're gonna go across to the box. Try to get as close as you can. It may not be perfect, but you just get as close as you can. Just pay attention to the edge. It's right about here or here. You drop it all the way down, connect. Okay. Now, there's a little piece of detail you want to pay attention to. You see right here, her hair separates from her shoulder a little bit and it curves in. You want to create a window so you can see your feathers in this piece here. Okay. But again, you want to make sure this is all cut out. first. All right, because you want to make sure it's actually. Let's see something I totally forgot. Um, yeah. So we're gonna do unite. I should have went all the way here and then up and then down and then go across. So we want to cut out all that so that will show the feathers clear. Oh, you know what? I didn't do what I wanted to do. Shit. Oh, I forgot. I remember. Never mind. Undo, and that's Control Z. I said I wanted to invert it. Okay. So let's go ahead and cut this out. Let's do that now. Again, you always have to test how your cuts are going to be. Okay, make sure it's on Union. You just go in here, create the little window all the way to the edge of where the hair would probably join. Bam. Invert. Back out a bit. Clear. Moment of truth. There it is. Only thing I have to clean that up. So what we'll do is we'll go from actually let's do this. Deselect, okay, and we'll do. In fact, it's a lot quicker to do this. We're gonna draw a square, make it at least even to a degree. Clear. That's cleaner. There you go. The only other thing I need to do, and it's not noticeable, but it's noticeable. Actually, I might just use the eraser tool. I'm going to drop our opacity on 50%, flow 50%. Flow is basically how long it takes to erase. Opacity is the lightness of erasing. Keep that in mind. If you didn't know what that meant, we're just going to erase. Actually, hold on. Oh, I got to deselect. Make sure your deselection is off when you want to edit the whole image. Just want to edge this a little bit, just a little. Oh shit, you know what? That's not what I wanted. Maybe right here. Yeah, maybe right in between here. That's good enough. But it's not noticeable. Shoot. Yeah, it is noticeable. Holy shit, that's horrible. All right, so let's cheat. Let's see. Let's see. Let's try the smudge tool. Let's see what that will give us. Smudge. I don't know what is going on with that. It's hideous. All right, so to rectify that problem, this is good, and this is easy. And this is why I say I like doing this. It's so much quicker to just clean up segments that you need to clean up. Simple. Done. And that concludes your tutorial. How do you like that? And that's how I edit AI generations when it has imperfections. See how smooth that look. This looks um, symmetric. It was easy, but That's how I edit AI generations when it has imperfections. Even with fonts, you have to look through your library, find a font that matches, and you just kind of take a color or a little background that the font sits on, cover it up, type on top. Simple. If the font don't exactly match, all you have to do is retype everything you need to retype, cover it up with the background, type on top of it. Bam. But that's how I edit the characters or generations or anything I feel it's too tedious to tell AI correct this, correct that, correct that. It is tedious. Sometimes you may have to go in and have it describe what the character is in great detail, and even then it may miss certain things. So at that point, you have to use your artistic skills to clean it up. And if you don't have that skill, you can find somebody who can do that for you if they don't charge you. I've done AI cleanup for a lot of people. So that's how I do it. It's not a secret. It's a skill you should have. I'm not gonna lie. You should have a skill in art, especially when you're messing with photo generations and video editing. And I do know a lot of people who are doing AI videos. They pretty much are shifting from video production to AI generated video editing. You just have to convert your image into a prompt. And it's very expensive to do that because you have to pay the subscription for all those little points to use to create videos. And videos use a lot of points, a lot. So you definitely have to have a good description. You have to have your references on point, consistently the same for it to, because you'll be blowing money like a motherfucker. So hopefully that helps you understand how I edit. It's very important to know how to edit, how to do any type of photo editing, how to do any digital editing or creation or art in general. Because there's moments you may have to go in there and draw stuff, move stuff around, add the color, tweak this, tweak that with a pen or a mouse. You know, it's not a lot of it's not just simple cut and paste. I was able to do this with cut and paste because I know what I wanted to do. I've been doing this for years. The average person they'll end up having to paint over that and redo it. And that's when they're like, oh, I don't want to do all that. If you know how to actually find a segment to invert it or mirror it and make it look good, then you know how to edit. This moment, in fact, my last character sheet with just the character, I had to replace feathers. So I took a segment of a feather or feathers, mirrored it, enlarged it, cut out the old feathers, put the new feathers on top, angled it where it looked proportioned, flatten the image. The average person wouldn't even think like that. Because again, you have to be a digital artist to know how to do stuff like that. Like this, I have to cut this out. And I didn't do it because I don't feel like doing it. You get the idea. Or I could have added this on the other side. But, again, you gotta know how to be an artist, which actually is starting to bother me now that I mentioned it. Man. And again, I'm going to do this really fast. I would say if you know what to do, cut, paste, cropping is your friend, especially with detailed images like this, if you're really good at it. And then going in there and blending everything, if you have a pen, digital pen, it's it's a good friend to have. Don't ever use copy merge because again that's flattening. And at the same time, I don't even know what that means. I have no idea why that's there, and I don't tend to use it because if you just copy this, you copy. again, whatever. So, um, learning how to copy paste, it helps a lot. It really does. Oh, um, the other thing people would have to do if you don't know how to copy paste properly is you have to use a clone tool. And I'm gonna tell you, that is a pain in the ass because you have to constantly move the anchor around and you have to clone it. The only problem with that is you have to figure out how to clone on a new layer, then flip the layer, and it's it's hard to clone on another layer because if you move over an empty space or you forget to switch layers, because the problem with cloning on a new layer is that you have to go to the original layer, pin your anchor, go back to the layer above it, and then start cloning. There's times where I forgot and I'm cloning an empty space. It can be done, but you got to be very mindful of what you're doing. Literally, what you're doing. It's a lot more tedious. It takes time. I honestly, I started with cloning before I figured out I can actually copy paste what I need and then correct it, clean it with the brush tool, blur it, whatever. Um, as I got more efficient with copy paste into sections I need to correct, I started using less and less of the clone tool. Every now and then, I'll have to use a clone tool. Like for instance, if I'm dealing with a lot of typography, yes, I'll probably will have to use the clone tool to fill in around the fonts to make it blend properly. And I've had to clean up people's AI fonts with the clone tool. And trust me, I'll be honest. There was this project I had to recreate a logo font by correcting the letters that were missing or screwed up. And there was a period I had to create letters out of other letters. And I had to use the clone tool and copy paste to a lot to make it work. And I got it to work. Trust me, it didn't take long. Well, it took a while, but in general, it didn't take me long to get it all done in a timely manner because I knew exactly how to do it. Because I know how to draw, I know how to paint, and I learned how to copy paste, clone this, clone that. I learned it all. And so the best thing to do, especially if you're trying to recreate fonts that's missing and you don't have that font in your library, you definitely have to copy paste and then cut, crop, and then fill and all that. You have to. You gotta know all that. But again, it's a lot. I can make videos on this. I never intended doing tutorials on art because there's a lot of art tutorials out there. But I am considering doing art tutorials with AI because now I'm gonna be honest. I just noticed something that's not shit. Again, I'll never mind. Never mind. Yeah. Why did I do that? I should just cut it out. Again, never mind. It's not worth it. So, um, AI generation, in a sense, if an artist brings you back to the basics, you have to know how to draw and how to do digital art from the basics to clean up AI generation because it's not going to generate anything 100% perfect unless you accept what it generates. Or the only way it'll generate something perfect is if you use real live characters. It'll pull from real live references and give you what you can get. If you accept it, great, great. there's a lot of like fantasy shit. There's a lot of fantasy references you can pull from and mix it. It's good. It's good at mixing and blending. But when it comes to character designs that you draw, that's when you see a lot of flaws. This I drew it. In fact, it had to go based off of the face, description of moth feathers, and the description of elf clothing mixed with what is I think I said desert cyberpunk clothing, long elf hair, whatever, anthers on the wrist, blah blah. And so I had to make all this shit up. Yeah, it's a shit show. It was a mess. And so there was like this. This is too much. I have to clean this up. I'm not going to. Not right now. I'll do it later. So yeah, you have like to get exact. You have to clean it up. You have to be an artist. You have to be able to clean all this up. And so that's why I implore people before you do AI generation, take some art classes. Just take some art. Please take some art classes. And the reason why I said it now because um 2022, 23, 2023 is no longer here. Okay. Back then, I got it. Like people were just playing with AI. They were trying to see what it can do and accepting what it can do. Like we didn't have any artists that really wanted to mess with it. Now we have more people generating. Oh shit! I just noticed something. Holy shit! That is a hot fucking mess. What the hell is that? Oh my god. Oh man. Anywho, um, you want to know how to do. It's the same shit too. Now the only thing is you actually can see the hands in this one. Huh. Okay. Yeah. We gotta fix this. Okay. So this video live is going in overtime. All right. So we want to keep all this. Cut around. Again, we're using a polygon shape. Okay. Uh, Now, here's the issue. You see this here? You want to angle that a bit. Give that some shape. Okay. Um, I'm not sure how fucked up that is. Something like that. Okay, let's jump back. Let's look at this. All right. Man, that's all. What? What the fuck, dude? Oh, man. All right. Just to be clear, we're going to add all this in too. I may have to do some adjustments. You actually will get a chance to see what I'm talking about. All right, here's a little trick. You can copy from one panel into the next. That's a neat feature too. I gotta figure out where, hold on, where did it go? Oh, I see it. This is perfect fucking timing. Like, dude, I did not catch that. All right. So I don't know what the hell. All right. So let's see here. How are we gonna do this? We're gonna try to match. That's close enough. Right in there. That's. Oh wait, hold on. This is the top of the sleeve. Okay. So, hmm. All right. Let's do this again. We're gonna add. Oh shit. This section here. Copy. Back here. Paste. As you can see, I am quite proficient with copy paste. Very proficient at it. That looks better. It actually matches amazingly. So we're gonna get rid of this layer. In fact, we're gonna delete it. We don't need it. Bam. Quick. Now, pay close attention to this spot. Okay. From a distance, it don't look like it's that off. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. It's off. So we're gonna erase lightly in this general area. Maybe this here. Wait a minute. What the fuck? No. Hold on. Oops. Okay. I don't know what the fuck I just erased. Anyway, didn't affect too much. I'm gonna kind of get in here like so. Just, yeah, there we go. We're gonna clean this up a bit. There. See, now it's actually blending. Voila. I don't know what this crap is, but yeah. All right. Actually, let's round this a bit here. I don't like it. You round that finger like that and get rid of all this like that and that and that. Oh, no, that's too far. Nope. Bing. So, oh, shit, this is a mess. What the hell is going on? All right, let's kind of round that finger a little bit. Now, this is what I'm talking about. See that black edge? So we need to go in with a pencil. Use the dropper tool. It can't catch the black. That's what we need. Okay. You have an actual pencil tool. Go into smallest tip, one. All right. We're gonna go in, all the way in. Yeah. Well, let's back up just a little bit so you can see the shape of the finger. We're gonna create a new layer. Always create a new layer before you start editing, and we're gonna carefully draw. Now, yeah, it is too dark. No shit. So you just use the opacity, lighten it up, blend it right in. There you go. Voila. So you gotta use your head. There's your corrected finger. One, two, three, four, five. Now you have all your fingers. Although, yeah, and it's proportion. Damn. I just don't like that nonsense. I don't know what the hell that is. So, we're going to do the same shit. I'm going to pull from here. So, small box. Get from the original. No, actually, yeah. So, get that layer. Copy. Remember where you paste that. kind of stick it there. I mean, like, so don't get me wrong. You saw me skip out of this. Reasoning is you have your other ways to scale. The problem is these are wonky. I well, except for rotate, but I, I can't. Now this is why I like Corel Draw. Corel Draw, when you actually scale, you can actually pull these little points individually. Photoshop never allowed that, and for some retarded reason, PhotoPea copied the same flaw. It sucks, and it's like annoying because there's moments where I need to skew a square in a specific manner into a rectangle of sorts, and you can't because it's a complete rectangle, and they call it free transform. That is not free. The only way you'll get it to work is if you use like perspective or skew, and even with that, it's kind of annoying. So if you ever can mess with Corel Draw, try it out. It's really it's I think it's user friendly a lot more than Photoshop. It has the same kind of tools, effective tools. Okay, so I'm gonna do this pretty quickly. I just need to cut around. I'll go at least that deep. Make sure you give yourself enough space to cut out. You don't have to go too close to the edge, just enough. And you could have done that with a brush tool, but again, just it doesn't really matter. Um, so that's the thing. It's kind of, I guess, I'm gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna fuck with that. All right, fit. All right, there we go. And again, you'll notice imperfections, especially with sketch work going to AI. It's good to pay attention. Like I said, I should have just cut that out, but again, whatever. Um, I mean, to be honest, fairies can grow. At least in my fairies can grow as many wings as they want, and the more wings you have, it's more of a status, in a sense. Um, one, two, three, four, five. So yeah, it's more of a status. So since she's a fusion, she can grow as many wings as she wants anyway. That's not a problem. So anyway, make sure you save your work. Save copies of your work also. It's very important, and I just lost track of. I think that was it was a solid state. Yeah, you want to keep track of your files and every change you make in your file. So every major change you make, save a iteration. It's good to have multiple variants of your copies than one or two copies, and then if you mess up whatever, you really you're going back all the way almost to the beginning. So I've learned. I wasn't taught this. They just said, "Oh, just make one copy." I used to make multiple copies, and it paid off. It really did. Sometimes I got tired of screwing up and I had to go back to a certain point and start all over. So I hope that was helpful to see how I edit. If the merge down feature, just be careful with that. Be very careful. Um, again, uh, I hope that gives you an idea how I edit AI generations, because a lot of time, and to be honest, if you have old AI work, that you did, you still keep it and you like it, you can clean that up. Again, you can either do it through a photo editor, or if you're really good at anatomy, you can tell the AI to clean it up. And I'm trying to think. I believe I think I actually did a video on that. I don't remember. I think I want to replace something. What is this called? Oh, never mind. Now, one thing about PhotoPea, any finalized output file format except for PSD, it downloads it. Because keep in mind, this is inside a web browser. So whenever you save your work, it's going to download it. So if you're wondering where your stuff is going, check your download folder. It's a web browser. It's not the actual program. Now you can make it into an app on Windows. I've done that before. I'm a little lazy on this one because I have it on my other laptop, which my other laptop is video photo editing for video. So I do have to do, graphic editing to put in the video. So I have it on there as an app from the browser. I just use the browser here. It's kind of the same thing. But anyway, there you have it. Finished product. Bam. And that concludes art class.